Hey guys, welcome back to Monique's Book List. So, we are here to talk about some of my favorite romance authors. Now, I know there's a few of you who don't like romance. I get it. I understand. I get it. But I do. So, I'm going to talk about it and let's get into it. So, I've broken this up into, I have a total of 10. And the way I got this list was two parts. Authors that that I enjoyed, and then authors that I read a lot of their content so I can speak on them a little more. So I'm going to start with my top five. The first one is, I say her name wrong sometimes, but I'm pretty sure I have it right. It's Nalini Singh. We have Avery Flynn. We have Jasmine Gallery. And then we have V. Keeling. And then we have Nana Malone. So let's get started. And I think this is actually quite a diverse group of women. I'm very excited to talk about this. And let me see, one, two, three. Out of my top five, I have three women of color. So that's, I guess that's pretty good, right? So very quickly, I'm going to give myself like 30 seconds to talk about this. I understand the stereotypes of what comes with people who read romance. I understand that, usually older women, middle-aged women who are missing something, or young girls fantasizing about relationships, and that could be all true. And if it is, so what? We enjoy the books, that's therefore we read them. And I used to shy away from telling people that I read a lot of romance because I didn't want people to think like negative about me, but I don't care anymore. I love reading. Romances happens to be one of the genres that I enjoy reading, so I'm going to talk about it. So, with all that being said, let's talk about some of my favorite authors. All right, so first and foremost, we have Nalini Singh, and I've read 6 of her books. 4 of the books are in the series called the Rock series, and the first book that I read was called Rock Addiction, and it features Fox and I can't remember the young lady's name. Um, the, Fox wants to pursue this young lady in a romantic way, but the young lady is, kind of recouping and recovering from something that happened in her past, and she's not traditionally beautiful. She's a little heavier. She's not, I guess, big, but she's bigger. So she's not comfortable in her skin to believe that this rock star wants to be with her, but he wants to be with her, and he has to kind of coax her into like being with him. But he knows he has to take it step by step, because if he tries to push it, he knows she's gonna run. Um, so you start off meeting those two, and then you meet the other band members and their relationships. And then there's a spin-off series from the first book. You meet the female main character's friend, Charlotte. And Charlotte, you learn about Charlotte and her boss. His last name is Bishop. And you go into the Bishop Brothers series. And their series is called, instead of called Rock Addiction, is one is called Rock, not Rock Hard, Rock Cherish Rock, or something like that. I can't think of the name of their series, but it's a spinoff. It's a cute little series. You enjoy it. A lot of hot and heavy stuff. That's one thing I want to say. If most of the books on my top 10 have a lot of sex in them, just gonna say it. All done tastefully. I'm lying. All right, so that's the first. That's the first author. The next author is Avery Flynn. I read 7 of her books, and the first book that I read in her series is the first book that I was introduced to her was Butterface. And Butterface, and if you're not in the U.S., it's a very mean term you can say about a young lady. Is like, she's a butterface, and what they mean by that is everything about her is attractive but her face, meaning that she's not a attractive looking person. So you meet I cannot think of any of the girls' names in these damn books. I can think of the guy's name. His name is so oh my god. I'm gonna put their names up here. you meet the first two characters. If the young lady is not, again, not attractive in the face for most people, I think it's because she has a large nose and she kind of has protruding eyes. Um, she meets the main male character. He's a police officer, and he finds her to be crazy cool. He eventually is attracted to her, and that's how they start their romance. Now, the thing that I like about Avery Flynn, the first three books that I read about from hers, they all talked about things that would be considered not traditionally attractive. There was Butterface. I read Muffin Top, which meant the girl was heavier. She was fat. She had a muffin top. And then there was Muffin Top. I guess there was just two books in this series. I guess the third book is Tomboy, which I haven't got a chance to read yet. Again, much like she has other series too that kind of tie into these series, but they're not completely tied in. The other series is called the Harbor City series, and it's literally the Hardigans live across the river from the characters in the Harbor City series. It's just that's how they go. And one of the main characters in the Harbor Cities is actually a Hardigan. She's actually a sister of one of the main characters in the Hardigan series. So that's how they all tie in together. But yeah, the things that I like about Avery Flynn's writing is that there's no the women aren't damsels in distress. They're just women who are just living their lives, and they one encounter is just a bad date, and this guy kind of is like, oh, I'll help you at this bad date, but she's not really attracted to the guy. They kind of eventually start liking each other. Butterface is happy with her life. She doesn't really need a man, but then she meets this dude, and she's like, okay, I'll let you woo me. But I don't really want to, I don't necessarily need this, but okay, it's cool to have where am I going with this? Anyway, again, all of it is, none of it is like I need these men to complete me. I need these men to tell me how beautiful I am so I can feel good about myself. I enjoy that. And I do enjoy her little sassy, sexy scenes. I do. Next on the list is Jasmine Gallery, and I've only read two of her books, but I've enjoyed the hell out of both of them. Her first book is called The Wedding Date, and the second book is called The Proposal. Now, I'm going to do a full review on The Proposal because it is getting a bad rap in these streets. I'm going to listen to that book again, and I'm going to read it again to try to see what everybody was so upset about. I don't know what people were expecting in this second book. The first book is literally what it's called. It's The Wedding Date. You meet Drew, and I think the girl's name in the first one is Alexa. And you meet Drew and Alexa, and they get stuck in an elevator, and Drew is actually at a wedding. He's set to be in a wedding of his ex-girlfriend, and he needs a wedding date, and he just asks Alexa to be his wedding date, and they hit it off, and they start dating, and it's cool. Now, the thing about Jasmine's books is that she writes from her first book, but the first two books that she wrote are interracial dating. The first book is, of course, a white man and a black woman. The second book is a Latin man and a black woman. And she has a third book coming out, and it is a same race relationship, which is pretty cool. And then she has another book coming out. She has a fourth book coming out soon, too, so I'm really excited. But I enjoy her writing. The things I liked about the first book, I really enjoyed the fact that Alexa explained the difference between the types of lives you have as a black person versus a white person, but not in a very aggressive, you need to like check your privilege kind of way. It was just in like, you have to recognize that there's a difference. Kind of the conversations that me and my husband have all the time. It's like, you understand that's different for you than me. Like a great example of, that doesn't matter, but like it's she does it in a very tactful way. And in the second book, in the proposal, what I liked was, which I don't understand how people don't, I'm just okay, I'm gonna talk about that in another book, but one of the things I liked about it was this punch like a girl um uh gym that she had all the girls go to, which I loved. I loved the concept of like, punch like a girl doesn't mean you're punching weakly. It means that you're punching like a strong woman. And I'll talk more about that in the review of that book. I don't know why people didn't like it. I don't know what they were expecting. And everyone was like, this great guy, Carlos, in the first book, and he seems so. First of all, when you first meet somebody for 10 minutes, they can be friggin' them. Okay, I'll talk about that more. All right, so fourth is V. Keeling. And V. Keeling, I've read 4 of her books. The first book was called Hate Notes. She wrote that with Penelope Ward. So it wasn't just her alone writing that book. It was a partnership there. I read a few books of Penelope Malone by herself. And I didn't add her to this list because I don't know why I didn't add her. I like, she wrote a book called Caller Number 9 or Gentleman Number 9. I liked it, but it wasn't, I don't know. It just wasn't my full cup of tea. But the two V. Keeling and Penelope Ward wrote Hate Notes. I loved it. I love V. Keeling's type of writing. She is more of a slow burn when it comes to romance. So like, a lot of it is hate to love, meaning that the characters for start off hating each other and then grow into a romantic relationship with some sexy time in there. But it is a slow burn. It's not, you're not gonna get that instant gratification of the romance right away. So I do like her writing style. She always has a sense of loss, mainly on the male side of the characters. There's always a male either worried about something that they can't do for their partner, or they're getting out of relationship, or someone is passed. So there's always that. The men are very vulnerable, very vulnerable. Like in need of care than the women are in her books. And I enjoy that it's not the opposite. So yeah. And then to round out the top 5 is Nana Malone. Nana Malone is an African American author who writes a lot of interracial relationships. And go figure, that's something I'm interested in. If you haven't caught it, my husband is white. Yeah. So it's her series, the book I read, and her series was called Game Set Match. It was about a tennis pro. I didn't actually like the first book I read of hers, but she also had these standalone, like they're kind of standalone. They're in a series, but if you wanted to, you could read each book by itself. Excuse me. You could read each book by itself and still get the full story of that character and not feel lost in that story. And they start with, I think, there's like a couple brothers and there's a sister, and then there is a illegitimate son too, that they're all in these stories. So I've read 9 of her books. I think she is the most. No, I take that back. My last number 10 is the most books I've read, or the most books by one author that I've read, I think, period, in my life. Sedona Malone, yeah, most of her books are interracial. There's no damsel in distress. There's not a lot of that. There is a lot of wealthy men, though. Like, all the men have come from some form of money. That's odd to me. But and then there's also she has those books, those standalone books with those guys, those brothers, and the illegitimate son brother. And then she has the game set match series. And then she has a series called Stilettos. And it's about this group of friends who share one pair of shoes. Like they they all can't afford this girl. One of the friends buys the shoes because she's going through something and she can't really afford the shoes. So the way that she can afford the shoes is if she lets her friends all help her pay for the shoes, and then they each get to wear the shoes like throughout the year. They all magically have the same shoe size, which never happens. It never happens. I have 4 very close female friends. One of them is my bestie, and none of us have the same shoe size. 2 of them are besties. My one bestie, her foot is smaller than like my niece, and my niece is 19 years old. Like my niece, I think my niece wears a size 8. My bestie's, her foot is a size 6. So it's weird that they all share the same shoe size. Outside of that, they're all women of color. Either they are biracial, they are black, they are either Indian. Like they're all women of color, and they're in interracial relationships. And it's not just white and black. It's again Latin, Asian. Like it's just a mixture. Actually, there's one that is a I don't know where he's from, but he's from the Middle East. I don't know which particular country in the Middle East, but he is from the Middle East. And I think their story is my favorite because I like, what is the word? Men who are, my husband is this way too. Very, I'm not, it's there, but it's not going to come out. What is the word? I don't know why I want to say studious. My husband is studious, but it's not the word I wanted to use. Stoic. I like very stoic men. And this character, he's very stoic. And yeah, I like all the women. I like in that one, the men and the women are very equally matched. Like no one's making more money. No one. There's actually there's one that's a hate to love relationship. I like that. There's like so many elements of like just straight up just fun relationships that I like a lot. So yeah, I like Nana Malone. Some pronounce it Nana, or I forget how the other people. It's just Nana. It's Nana Malone. And yeah, so those are my top 5. I actually tried to keep this under 15 minutes. That didn't work. But yeah, so those are my top 5. We'll do my last, my bottom 5. We'll do it soon, probably later tomorrow. Yeah, I don't think my bottom 5 are. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, I thank you for listening to me.